Like to speak and write and express yourself from the heart, because the heart is what you have as is your true self. I mean, what's in your heart is what you are at a specific moment.
Yeah. So again, you're speaking poetically when you're saying that the heart. You're using, of course, that word poetically. You're not using it literally because, as far as we know, the heart pumps blood.
Yes.
That's its function. But when you're saying, talking about the heart, then you're using the word metaphorically to try to speak about something that is, again, everything we try to say is deep within us. Well, again, not deep in the sense it could be shallow, it could be deep. But this is not a dualistic world, when we can't be clear about it if we begin to speak dualistically about it. But we can't speak about it unless we speak dualistically about it. And that's the paradox, and that's the dilemma that we're in. We have one foot in the world and one foot in the spirit. And it can be very difficult to translate from one to the other.
And David, what I would call clarity is when you speak, because when you speak with a lot of clarity. You speak the truth. I mean, what I would call truth, and when you speak, you know that's what it is. I cannot explain it because that's what it is. So it comes as a true statement. Because you're not thinking about it, it is coming from somewhere. And I call it from the heart.
From the heart.
And I like the clarification that we just had here, because the heart doesn't mean the heart, obviously, right? But it comes from that deeper, or I don't know, or higher place where things come with clarity. Yeah. Because it's the mind that confuses. It's the mind that wants to analyze and say, oh, is that right? Oh, is it right? Yes. Is it true? Is it bad? Am I saying it the right way, or am I saying it the wrong way? Yeah. Right, the one that evaluates is the mind.
Right. And Spinoza talks about it in this. He talks about clear and distinct ideas as well. And he says that the senses, what he calls imagination, can't give us clear and distinct ideas by their very nature. He explains why. Now, the second kind of knowledge, which is reason, he says it does have clear and distinct ideas, but in a sense, I think what he's saying is that you can't live those clear and distinct ideas. They're there as kind of abstractions. If you want to live clear and distinct ideas, then you need the third kind of knowledge, intuition.
Which is intuition.
And once you get into that condition, that state, it's very difficult to say anything clearly about it. So you have to live with the paradox of saying things unclearly or indirectly. You can say, you know, many, Zen, for instance, tries to speak these things in an indirect fashion. And sometimes by speaking nonsense, sometimes by speaking as a paradox. And to try to get at them to get at it in that way, which is not a direct explanation or description of it, but seemingly something unrelated.
And irrational, I would say.
And
so almost irrational. Just so
yeah.
that you don't have the time to evaluate or even try to analyze.
If you try to use the second kind of knowledge on it, Spinoza would say, then you, to a certain extent, you lose it. But the second kind of knowledge is the small knowledge, breaking things down, because it's having clear and distinct ideas. It is thinking about things, little thoughts, whereas if we have the great thought,
which is the oneness, the spirit,
then that's the great knowledge, sees all in one.
And when there's clarity, then there's no worry, there's no doubt, there's no fear.
Well,
because I want to know what's the value of being clear.
What the value?
What's the value?
Yeah.
I mean, why would I say to someone, you know, it's great to reach that clarity, or to feel it, or to be it, anyways?
I think, people who teach these spiritual things, if you like, sometimes seem a little bit concerned about those things that you just mentioned, fear, uncertainty, doubt and that kind of thing. But in a way we shouldn't become attached to those things either. We should be detached from those things. In other words,
yes.
in one way of saying it is that we shouldn't worry about, we shouldn't be attached to doubting, we shouldn't be attached to being angry. We're just attached to none of those states of the ego.
Yeah.
At some level. The important issue, I think, and it's, you know, to say, well, if I'm not attached to my anger, does that mean I can just be as angry as I want to? I think the straightforward answer to that is yes. But if you come from that heart, I'm talking about, you won't be angry.
Because?
Because that's not where anger resides. Because you are acting from a pure heart. A pure heart,
which is love, compassion.
With love, compassion, there won't be anger. If there is anger, it flashes, just like the ego, and then, you know, suddenly that flash, if you like,
goes away,
fades into the bright light of the universe. So, what were we trying to say here? Yeah. So we shouldn't be afraid, I think, of those. Begin to be afraid of those negative emotions, like, is to be attached to them. We should be able to, in fact, just be through them, to let a light shine through them. Those things of confusion.
And if they come about, to let it be and just observe them and let them go by.
Yeah, so as I said, the question then becomes is, well, do we take responsibility for our actions? And that certainly is a good question and not an easy one. Maybe a subject for another day.
For another day. And just before we finish this topic, I was just, as I was driving here, I was on the radio and someone was saying that many people are very afraid right now of the economy because many people have placed happiness and joy and freedom on the economy state, on money, let's put it that way, on finances. What happens now that the finances are dropping and are failing? Then what is happiness? Well, maybe, and this is why my whole issue, my whole issue, but my whole desire of continuing to understand how we don't have to really depend on the economy to have that joy and that feeling of prosperity and abundance and wealth. Because if the economy is the only thing that is telling us how to be happy, many people right now, and in fact, many people now are committing suicide. I heard on the radio. Why? Because the only thing that was sustaining them was the economy, finances,
and what they had invested.
And what they have invested in it. So what if we try to move and said, well, there's something much bigger than that. And what would you say about that? Just quickly, we'll close. But because that's reality right now. Many people are having very difficult times and are having chaos in their lives.
It's easy to say, oh well, you just shouldn't be so attached to these things. But in practice, that's probably more difficult to put in. And this is why there are spiritual disciplines in order to help people to arrive at this point. Even those that believe in a kind of instant recognition of what is, of God or the meaning of life. Even people who say that kind of thing suddenly still go through a long discipline.
So you're saying that there are disciplines.
There are disciplines, and yeah, definitely, and sometimes those disciplines have to be followed. Again, that raises the question of whether it's a gradual approach or a sudden approach to this, and is it a matter of what we do, or is it an element of grace involved in that?
Yeah, and David, that's why we've been choosing specific little topics like charity, and maybe next